I guarantee that this will have nothing to do with the coronavirus epidemic. This is going to be about Lou Reed. Paralyzed by hatred and a piss-ugly soul. If he murdered his father, he thought he'd become whole. While listening at night to an old radio where they danced to the rock minuet. With gay bars in the back of the bar, he consummated hatred on cold sawdust floors. Where the jukebox played backbeats, he sniffed coke off a jar. Where they danced to the rock minuet. School was a waste, he was meant for the street, but school was the only way the army could be beat. The two whores sucked his nipples until he came on their feet, and they danced to the rock minuet. Alexander Pope, Robert Browning, and now Lou Reed. I know very little about Lou Reed. I knew he grew up a highly neurotic Jewish kid who liked to make music. Music saved him, gave him a reason for being. When I try to think about perspective between Lou Reed and myself, the first thing that comes to mind is New York City. That place meant everything to him. All those people and buildings crammed, compressed, compacted, and trying to find a way, first to survive, and then to live in those conditions. David Bowie called it that bohemian intellectual extravagance. I think Lou Reed was always writing about New York. Even when he put out an album called Berlin, he was writing about New York City. New York City was his hell, but I think he loved the place too. New York City is the place where you say, "Hey babe, take a walk on the wild side." It put all of his energy, it put all of his energy into his music. And when I try to think about me and Lou Reed, worlds apart, I think sheltered, a sheltered life, that's me, and unsheltered, out in the elements, out running with the wolves, that's Lou Reed. He dreamt that his father was sunk to his knees, his leather belt tied so tight that it was hard to breathe, and the studs from his jacket were as cold as the breeze, and he danced to the rock minuet. He pictured the bedroom where he heard the first cry, his mother on all fours with his father behind, and her yell hurt so much he wished he'd gone blind and rocked to a rock minuet. In the back of the warehouse were a couple of guys. They had tied someone up and sewn up their eyes, and he got so excited he came on his thighs when they danced to the rock minuet. If you're lucky, you find what you need to become what you were meant to be. Lou Reed went to Syracuse University and met a poet, Delmore Schwartz, who told him, with the simplest language imaginable and very short, you can accomplish the most astonishing heights. Then he ran into Andy Warhol, who exemplified that other way of looking at things, a real alternative, not just kidding around. And Warhol was always busy. He called his studio the factory. He'd ask Lou Reed, "How many songs did you write today?" And Reed would say, 2, and Warhol would say, "You should have written 5. Lou Reed found his way into the Velvet Underground, and Andy Warhol produced the album. Sweet Jane, Heroin, one of the most powerful statements of nihilism imaginable. Lou Reed wrote plain, direct, stark, shocking, and beautiful. At the end of many of his songs, like Sad Song, he repeated lines over and over in cantatory. His song Perfect Day has been recorded by many performers. You hear Lou Reed singing about a perfect day, and you have to think, right, what's coming? He starts out with cliches, a picnic, the zoo, a movie, and then he says, I thought I was someone else, someone good. And the song ends with him chanting in his usual monotone, you're gonna reap just what you sow. Something true of the perfect day and the bad ones, too. One more bit of luck. Lou Reed spent the last 15 years of his life with the artist and musician Laurie Anderson. On Avenue B, someone cruised him one night. He took him in an alley and pulled a knife. I thought of the father as they cut his windpipe. Finally danced to the rock minuet. In the curse of the alley, the thrill of the street, on the bitter cold docks where the outlaws all meet, euphoria drug in euphoria heat, you could dance to the rock minuet. In the thrill of the needle and anonymous sex, you could dance to the rock minuet. So when you dance hard, slow dancing, when you dance hard, slow dancing, when you dance hard, slow dancing, when you dance to the rock minuet.